Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to AD&D 2nd Edition read-through of the Player's Handbook. We just did wizard spells. Now we're going to do priest spells. They functionally, mechanically, and visually have the same effect, but they are vastly different in what they really are. So let's go ahead and get into that right now. All right, it's priest spells. The spells of a priest, while sometimes having powers similar to those of a wizard, are quite different in their overall tone. The priest's role, more often than not, is as defender and guide for others. Thus, the majority of his spells work to aid others or provide some service to the community in which he lives. Few of his spells are truly offensive, but many can be used cleverly to protect or defend. Like the wizard, the priest spell level determines how many spells he retains. He must select these spells in advance, demonstrating his wisdom and farsightedness by choosing these spells he thinks will be most useful in the trials that lurk ahead. Unlike a wizard...
Well, can you hold on just for a second? That paragraph right there, I've seen ignored by the vast majority, myself included. To be fair, myself included. The vast majority of dungeon masters ignore that paragraph and generally don't make. Well, I make them pray in the morning for their slot, so to speak, but not for the specific spells. You can yell at me for that if you want. I get it. They're already OP. Now you're adding more OP to them.
Fair enough. But just like wizards, they have to not memorize, but they have to choose their spells in advance when they're praying to their god. But unlike wizards, this is the next paragraph. Unlike the wizard, the priest needs no spell book and does not roll to see if he learns anything. Priest spells are obtained in an entirely different manner. God did it. That's it. To obtain his spells, a priest must be faithful to the cause of his deity, and then the deity gives him the spell from the entire list.
Yes, from the entire list.
The entire list of possible spells of that level. You just get to choose one.
Well, now, to be fair, good game masters were like, okay, so I have the priest ones behind me. I'm not going to pull them out as well, but here are the wizard spells, right? You can say what's actually, no, we are not taking spells out of this book, or, you know what, that spell sounds reasonable. You can have that. God has all the right in the world to say no or yes.
Yeah. Remember, it's not you. God did it to them. God's not letting them have chariot of fire. All right. God did it. There you go. A priest spell selection is limited by his level and by the different spheres of spells. The spheres of influence into which priest spells are divided can be found under priests and specific mythos in chapter 3. Okay. We looked at this already. But if you are not playing a generic priest, like you have like just generic Yahweh or whatever, that is the God, the singular God of all things.
You mean especially priest?
Yeah. If you're a specialty priest, a priest of a specific God, then that specific God most likely has gives you access to only a limited number of spheres of influence. All combat, divination, healing, necromantic, whatever.
Unless you follow Forgotten Realms God, then you have more spells than the clerics. Don't know why. Yeah. And powers.
Yeah, it's weird. Within the major spheres of this deity, a priest can use any spell of a given level when he is able to cast spells of that level. Thus, a druid is able to cast any second level plant sphere spell when he's able to cast second level spells. For spells belonging to minor schools, he can cast spells only up to third level. Minor spheres are just anything up to third level, and anyone can really do that. Anyone can do that because all of these are just like the wizard, with lesser divination school. It's kind of like necessary to be a wizard.
Well, there are schools that you are completely cut off from. I mean, you don't get all minor. You'll have a list of major and minor.
Major and minor, okay, but these a lot of these are necessary. Like the all school is catch-all.
Correct. All is the catch-all.
Is it kind of almost unless you are a super specialty priest of a super specialty god, you're probably going to have access to the all, because almost everybody is.
I think it's all for. I don't think there's anybody out there that doesn't have all of all.
Yeah, it's weird. Priests must pray to obtain spells, as they are requesting their abilities from a greater power, be it their deity or some whatever thing the DM decides. The conditions for praying are identical to those needed for the wizard studying. Clearly, then, it behooves the priest to maintain himself in good standing with his power through word and deed. Priests who slip in their duties, harbor indiscreet thoughts, or neglect their beliefs find that their deity has an immediate method of redress. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the rub of being a priest. God knows what you're thinking. He's basically Santa. He knows when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you pull the pigtails of your sister, okay? But instead of not giving you gifts, he's not going to give you spells that day. Or he's not going to let you cast spells you've already asked him to. He can do that.
Santa Claus is gunning you down.
Exactly, yes. If the priest has failed in his duties, the deity can deny him spells as a clear message of dissatisfaction. For minor infractions, a deity can deny minor spells, major failings, major spells. These can be regained if the character immediately begins to make amends for his errors. Perhaps the character only needs to be a little more vigilant in the case of a minor fault. A serious transgression could require special service, such as a quest or some great sacrifice of goods. These are things your DM will decide should your character veer from the straight and narrow path of his religion. Okay, for all you DMs out there, all right, they're not paladins, all right? Don't do the major thing unless they did something that shifts their alignment. Gods hate that.
Or just shits on the god's religion.
Or is a direct affront to his god. Then yeah. I mean, if you piss in God's face, he's not going to just take it. He doesn't roll like that. But if you do something bad enough for an alignment shift, or bad enough against the god's priorities itself, don't do this. They're not paladins. Okay. Paladin goes in with his eyes open. Okay. Even if I'm mind controlled, I do something bad, I'm screwed. You know that going in, right? Don't be all murky with the priest.
And also remember, the king priest of Ishtar was supposed to be lawful good. This is from Dragonlance, by the way, for folks who don't know. He was supposed to be lawful good. He's the highest level priest. He is the pope of the religion, but he was actually lawful evil. But he had gone so good and then so authoritarian that he became lawful evil. But Paladine still could not stop him from giving powers, because the overall concept was that he was trying to spread Paladine's faith and be good. So they just threw a rock at the planet and
Well, they didn't just chuck a mountain at him. They gave him like what, 12 other
days.
Warnings?
Yeah, 12 days.
Yeah. 12 days before that, they gave him a warning every day. And he just like, no, I'm infallible. All right, well, sorry. You're also unlivable. Finally, your DM may rule that not all deities are equal, so that spells of lesser power are unable to grant certain spells. This is, again, if you get the Legends and Lore book, and it gives specific gods, lesser gods, demigods, intermediate gods, greater gods. They can only give spells of up to a certain level because they're just not that godly.
So I thought about this after we had that segment, because I said I don't use this because I don't use this. But I can actually think of a reason to use it now. First of all, you're probably not going to run a 20th level campaign doing this because your priest is going to be angry at you not having these spells. But it is a good way, one, of maintaining that order that I don't know all the religions out there, but you know that Odin is on top of Loki, whatever, right? Freya or something like that, or is a more Balder. Powerful.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah. Thor, Balder, whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Odin is higher than that. But even if you look at the Legends lore book, I believe even a demigod can grant spells up to 5th level.
Right. Yeah. But if you
need a 7, so it's not like it's.
I don't know. Horrible. You're losing us. I mean, heal is a 6th level spell, and that's a pretty important one.
Pretty good one. I admit it's a pretty good one. But usually you get something on the front end, like being a priest of one of these other deities. You get magical abilities as well as spells.
But here's the other part to that, though. It also, in my mind, can very well shape we'll call it the popularity of the religion. Why is that God a greater God? Because more people know about him, worship him, deal with him, whatever the case may be, where those other demigods are more sex and cults and offshoots of. We know they exist, but come on, man, are they really gods? Whatever. But those people over there, they venerate them. But most of us just kind of look like, okay, you worship that one. That's nice.
Yeah, it's cool. Casting spells. Okay, we're talking about how they get them. Now we're going to tell them how they use them. Both wizards and priests use the same rules for casting spells. To cast a spell, the character must first have the spell memorized or prayed to. If it's not memorized, the spell cannot be cast. The caster must be able to speak and have both arms free. Note that the optionals, we're going to talk about spell components later. If the spell is targeted on a person, place, or thing, the caster must be able to see it. It is not enough to cast a fireball 150 feet ahead in the darkness. The caster must be able to see the point of explosion and the intervening distance. Likewise, a magic missile cannot be fired into a group of bandits with the instruction to strike the leader. If you don't know who the leader is, you can't target anything. So when you're casting a spell, whether you're a wizard or a priest or whatever, you have to have a clear target or a point of intersection. Like if it's an area effect spell, you have to say based on that point that you can see that is within range. Then you can fire off the spell. Once the casting has begun, the character must stand still. Casting cannot be accomplished while riding a roughly moving beast or a vehicle unless special efforts are made to stabilize and protect the caster. Now, I'm not severe on this. If you have the riding skill, I will allow you to cast a spell from a moving horse. Just it's going to be not a fast moving. You can't be like full speed ahead, all gas, no brake. No.
Certainly can't be trotting, even though that's not fast. If you've ever ridden a horse, you know that extra beat of the trot throws you around. So.
It does. But if you have the riding skill, I'll allow it. If you're on the back of a carriage, I'll allow it, unless it's breakneck speed. I'll allow it.
Or intentionally rough terrain.
Oh,
like
yeah,
you're not on the road.
Yeah. If it's all crappy out there, then no. But I try to give a little on this one.
Yep.
All right, so you try too. Thus, a spell cannot be cast. However, if the caster were below decks, protected from the wind, surging waves, he could cast a spell. While this is not normally possible to cast a spell from a moving chariot, a character who was steadied and supported by others could do so. Your DM will have to make a ruling in these types of extraordinary conditions. Do not rule that, because you're on a boat, you're on the deck of a boat, you can't cast spells because the boat's rocking. Dude.
Now, if you're in the middle of a storm, could be a different story.
It could be a different story, but if you lash yourself to the mainsail or something, so you have time to, do this, I'll allow it. Or you have someone holding you to the mainsail, I'll allow it, whatever. But, normal, like minorly rough seas, there's no point in saying, can't cast. Ooh. No, there's no point in doing that. Don't do that.
What you could do is you could make it harder for higher level spells, but lower level spells, no big deal because they go off quicker. I mean, there are options that DMs can use. I'm not saying that's a good option. I'm saying there are things you can consider to say, hey, I want these swells to mean something. Okay, well then have it affect the higher level spells, not the lower level spells, since they're more complicated.
Sure. During the round in which a spell is cast, the caster cannot move to dodge attacks. Therefore, no AC benefit from dexterity is gained by spellcasters while casting spells. I see DMs forget this a lot. And I understand. I get it. I don't do it. I don't take away their dex bonus. You know why? Because I don't feel like doing extra math all the time. I don't feel like adding a complication. Because usually a spellcaster's dexterity is not significant enough to really matter. I mean, +1 or +2 usually is it for a spellcaster's dex bonus to AC. So I just wave it off. But that's me. Technically, you're not supposed to get it, but whatever. Furthermore, if the spellcaster is struck by a weapon or fails to make a saving throw before the spell is cast, the caster's concentration is disrupted. The spell is lost in a fizzle of useless energy and is wiped clean from the memory of the caster until it can be rememorized or re-prayed to. Spellcasters are well advised not to stand in front of the enemy in any battle, at least if they want to be able to cast any spells. Now, this one, we spoke about it in the last segment. Max and I do it a little differently. If you take damage This one says if you're struck by a weapon or fail to make a saving throw. If you take damage, you can make a saving throw or maybe a system shock. If you pass it, you get off your spell. If you don't, you don't.
Oh, no, not for the. Honestly, I'm hardcore on this. If you're clubbed, that was for the illusion side of it. For this one, this is if you're forced to move, if you're hit, if you're struck, does not matter. Again, you're supposed to have a team to protect you, and you don't. Too bad. Well, I'm a priest. I wear armor now. Hey, that's great. You're wearing armor. You're in the beginning of the middle of the fight. I guess that heal spell is going to be a little more restrictive. Yeah. Like that's priests are already OP.
Fair enough.
And to be fair, myself included, while I try to remember, I oftentimes forget in the middle of playing the game because I'm trying to keep it going that the wizard moved or the priest moved and wants to cast, and I let him do it because I just forget. But if he's clubbed, if he's shot with an arrow, now saving throws for me, it has to be some sort of actual like damaging or we'll just say consciousness effect. Yeah, mind affecting for saving throw. It has to be something that really would take him off his rocker if he failed. But even then, even if you have to concentrate back against something, you're no longer concentrating on releasing that energy properly. The thing I don't do, but let me rephrase that. I don't want to dive into all my weird idiosyncrasies, but the easiest way for me to say this that I don't generally do is have them lose the spell unless they actually cast it. Many caveats to that. There's a lot of people be like, yes, he does. But generally speaking, I don't always have the character lose a spell if he couldn't cast it. So I'm not going to get into my funky rules outside of that, though. Has to do with speed factor and things like that.
Okay, Dana McCarthy says, no, not that one. Not that one. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Dex modifiers to AC. That includes penalties. No, it doesn't. As we see here, gets no AC benefit from dexterity. No benefit. Is very specific. You still get a detriment if that is your AC. So be wary. Now, this one is one that many people don't use components, but don't realize that the whole thing was optional anyway.
I love components.
Spell components is an optional rule. They're not. It's not a rule in the book. Not a manual. So you don't need it, and you're still doing it right. As a matter of fact, I don't use spell components unless it's a specialty component named in the spell. Like some spells require a diamond of a certain size or a holy symbol made of a certain thing or the blood of whatever. Then you need that. But those are usually the really high level spells that really.
I think we talked about this when we were talking about magic in one of the earlier episodes. But yeah, I mean, I'm similar, but no, I use components. What I do is when they go to town, I make them waste 5-10 gold on components to get
generic components.
Yeah, I don't care how many handfuls of bat guano you have for your. Clerics, on the other hand, I am a little different, and I almost was about to lie and say, "Oh no, I use component clerics." I think I'm more like you. Must have a holy symbol. Must always have the holy symbol. That's and only the expensive stuff do I care about.
Yeah.
But that holy symbol, and you must show it. It must be out. You can't hide it because you are showing your faith to cast these spells.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. God is what's that saying? Fortune favors the bold. Well, so does God. God favors the bold as well. But this whole thing, in the next segment, we're going to look at actual spells, how they're listed, and how to use them. It lists in the description the spell components required to cast the spell if you use spell components in your game. So each spell may have a different component, and your priest or wizard or whatever may have to carry these things. That's why D&D priests and wizards often have a belt with a whole bunch of pouches
that smell really bad.
Bat guano is not fun. It's like Windexed shit. It's not good.
Well, it's bat guano and sulfur.
And sulfur, which is even worse, right? So depending on what some of it is just berries, just berries. Okay.
Don't mix that with the bat guano and sulfur,
Don't
please.
mix that with the bat guano. You get bad berries instead of good berries. You get bad berries. But yeah, if you use spell components, they're going to be in the description, and you as a player are responsible for having the proper spell components and the right amount to, cast the spells. Because in majority of the cases, it's very clear that the spell component is consumed in casting the spell. So you're always going to need more. And I don't think we need to read all that. Oh, and there's magical research. It just talks about it. It doesn't give any rules because that's in the Dungeon Master's Guide.
Yep.
But there is a way for you, especially as a wizard, to get new spells. That's make them yourself. Now, the higher the level you are, the easier it is. The lower level of spell you're trying to make, the easier it is, and vice versa. But it does take time. Lots and lots of time, months, sometimes years.
And prepared scrolls and
then you have to roll several times and succeed every time to make a spell.
Is it several times in D&D? I forget.
It's 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
But the cool thing is you can create a spell that your character knows already exists. Like your character has seen someone cast a fireball. He doesn't have the fireball spell. Joey wouldn't give it to him. Joey's the one who cast it. But you can make a spell that is fireball because it's based off of what Joey did. You can do that. You can make a spell that already exists that you've seen or heard of that does the thing you want it to do. Or you can make a brand new spell that does that no one knows of because no one had the need. You can make it and boom, now it's a spell. Again, very difficult, very time consuming, but very possible. All right. That is it for pre-spells. And it turned out to be like general spells as well. I don't know about that. But next we're going to get into the spell descriptions. We're going to get into how to read the spells, how to find the pertinent information, how to interpret that information into the game mechanics so everyone's on the same page. And then we're going to look at some spells, especially Phantasmal Steed.
Yeah, or Phantasmal Spectral Steed, whatever. Whatever Illusory Steed, whatever the heck that was spelled.
The OP horse.
Oh no, Spectral Steed is from Earthdawn, so I think it's Phantasmal Steed. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, Shadowfax, basically.
Shadowfax. Yeah.
What we have for chat?
I thought I started something. Didn't I start something? I started one.
Okay.
Darthiac says it would be reasonable to give a narrower list of spells to the wizard and priest. Then let the wizard find rare spells in tombs, and the priest gets new spells added as he performs tasks for his god.
That's fair. Again, you as the DM, you control when and if each spellcasting character gets new spells. Except for one instance where he said where a specialty spellcaster automatically gets a spell at each new spell level. But you as a DM can choose what that spell is.
Yeah, and it's just like everything. We don't sit here all the time and say, well, the rules are optional. Every rule's optional. I mean, in fact, he pointed out actual optional rules. But to be fair, you're the game master. As long as the wizard or the player of the wizard or priest knows beforehand how you're doing this,
it's fine.
Yeah. And this is actually how a lot of games do it. You only start off with like 3 priest spells, and then you have to learn or pray or impress your god or whatever to get the rest. Like you find another priest scroll, prayer from like, oh, I didn't have this catechism before. Oh, this gives me the ability to do a couple more things. Like I am not opposed to this at all. I think, unfortunately, one of my issues with second edition is that I got jaded by an original Dungeon Master and just some novels that make me handle priests and certain abilities in ways that don't fit the rules. And I'm always trying to find that way to hack that in while still maintaining the rules. But so I'd never do something like this, even though I think it's a good idea.
Fair.
And that's the only one I started.
That's okay. That's okay. Remember, next we're going to get into the spell descriptions. how to read them, how to adjudicate, so everyone's on the same page on how the spells work and how to recognize the important parts, like, dealing damage, saving throws, stuff like that. So stay tuned.
Yep, look forward to talking to everybody in the next episode. Like he said, he already said what he's going to cover. Please like, subscribe, and share. It will be on the spell list. And then, for the people watching the live stream, we will dive into Rift's bestiary. But that'll be for Rift folks. Till then, talk to you later.